Good morning. This is part 2 of my colon cancer journey. I believe we left off with my experience at Moffitt Cancer Center, and I just want to say again that I'm not putting any shade towards them. They do a great job. They are world renowned. I mean, people come from other states to, get their treatment there. I know people that get treatment there. They are a wonderful facility. I didn't have a great experience with one surgeon, one person. And part of that is my fault because I don't think I was really ready for the conversation and how it was going to go. And I just was expecting a lot more sympathy or empathy or care. And I realize now that surgeons are just cut from a different cloth. They cannot take on everybody's emotional needs, especially if they're operating on you for cancer. Like, they wouldn't be able to function or do their job properly, I guess, if they were being overly emotional for everyone. Anyway, I went to this visit with my mom, and he basically had a diagram and kind of just immediately started telling me based on what he had seen, which, by the way, I'd had a second colonoscopy with Moffitt before this appointment. They wanted me to do another one. They wanted to get their own results, do their own testing. So I had another one. So he got the diagram out. He showed me on a screen where the polyp was and that the other doctor had not done any kind of tattooing or whatever. So the Moffitt people put a little tattoo in the spot where they had removed the polyp. On the diagram, he showed me it was intestines, and he showed me like where it was located and then how many inches, approximately 8, that they were going to remove and sew back together. I didn't even know what questions to ask because, again, I still at this point had not started Googling. I was not prepared. I just wasn't mentally prepared at all for any of it. So I'm kind of crying off and on. My mom is there with me. She's kind of crying off and on, and he's just not really offering, any sympathy at all. And I just didn't feel like we clicked. So I went home even more upset and decided to put it on hold. And so it took a couple of weeks, and then I started looking for another surgeon. I reached out to my GI doctor to get a recommendation. I didn't like the hospital that his recommendation did surgery at, so I don't think I even went to him, but I went to 2 or 3 other ones, and I don't know, somewhere around 4th or 5th visit, I finally found my surgeon. And I think it's okay to say his name on here. Like, it's Tampa General Hospital and USF in Tampa, and his name was Dr. Marcet, and he was phenomenal. He's kind of like an older father figure or maybe grandfather figure. He's been doing it forever, and in my very first appointment, he literally held my hand, he patted my knee, he was very emotional with me. He gave me time to breathe and talk and ask questions and went over everything. I forgot to say that during this time when I was visiting a few other surgeons, what I was hoping to find is someone that would put you on the watch and wait list, which basically means they'll watch and wait, but you would have to go every 3 months to have a colonoscopy and scans and blood work to see if anything was progressing or changing. None of the surgeons I visited were okay with that. So anyway, back to Dr. Marcet. He wanted to do, before the colonoscopy, there's some other little camera. I don't know if it's the same camera. I don't know, but somehow I ended up with an appointment where, excuse me, I had to do the same prep, but he was doing the camera while I was wide awake in his office. And, you don't know how strong you are until you're put in a position where you have to do something that requires a lot of mental and physical strength. So another thing they wanted me to do, and TMI, if you get grossed out, click off the video. It's not that gross, but they wanted me to do menopause moment. A douche. Is that what it's called? No, an enema. They wanted me to do an enema to myself twice before I got there. And I absolutely could not do it. I bought them and I really thought I could, and I just couldn't. I can't do that to myself. That's an outie, not an innie, so I couldn't put something up my own butt. So I let him know when I got there. I had done the prep, like I had gone 24 hours without eating solid foods and drank some laxatives and whatever, but he did the enema to me, and then they made me wait like an hour, and then they did the test. I will say that, you know, it wasn't the end of the world. Like, I got through it. The nurse held my hand on this side. He's over here. He's looking at the screen. And, you know, I didn't even know. Like, it feels like another world. It feels like another timeline for me that happened and I survived it. But anyway, we did that, and I had a scan right before, scheduling the surgery. He sent me for some scans, and a lymph node lit up. Now, I'd already had some scans, and that had not happened yet. And so he did say that maybe it was a shadow. I don't know, you know, how these things work, but he showed me on the scan where the lymph node was lit up. So then I got even more scared. But we got the surgery scheduled, and he let me know the same thing pretty much that the Moffitt guy said. He was going to take out probably about 8 inches of my intestines, and he was going to suture them back together with staples. And what else did he tell me? It was going to be robot assisted. So that was interesting. I think it was at that point that I did some Googling, because I wanted to see what this robot assist thing was about. As opposed to open surgery, which I'm sorry, and I'm not good at editing, so that will probably still be in the video, but open surgery, I had heard that the recovery was a lot longer. So, you know, at this point I had just accepted that this was going to have to happen. So my daughter took me. We had same prep for the surgery, you know, get everything cleared out. But my daughter took me. My goodness, I'm really sorry. To the hospital. And I remember like being in the room, and the anesthesiologist came in to talk to me, and they put this gown on you, and they put like warm air up in it. And it was kind of during COVID, so everybody was still like wearing masks, and you couldn't really bring, you know, I'm getting ahead of myself, but it was right after, kind of still during COVID rules. So my daughter wasn't allowed back in this holding area with me, but the last thing I remember is them rolling me into the room. They had given me something to kind of relax me, but I wasn't sedated, because once you're sedated, they put the tube down, you know, your throat. I was so scared. That was one of the main things I was scared of, is that I was going to wake up and that tube was still going to be down my throat, and I was going to panic. And I remember I kept needing assurance that that was not going to happen, and that there wouldn't be some kind of feeding tube, no tubes up in here. So we go through the surgery. I think it took 6 to 8 hours, somewhere in that realm. My poor daughter waited the entire time at the hospital for me. She is an angel. I came out of the surgery, and again, because of COVID, like, there wasn't a lot of beds, and I don't know, I was in some weird hazy spot with just curtains, and I could hear other people, and I could hear the nurses, and I didn't have my glasses. Then suddenly my daughter was by the bedside, and she was telling me she loved me, but they were making her leave because visiting hours were over, but I wasn't even in my room yet. And so I was still, you know, waking up from all this sedation. And I just remember crying and being so scared because she was leaving, and I wanted her to be there with me, but they wouldn't let her. Anyway, I don't know how long I was in that holding area, and I'm sure it was a COVID related issue. So I'm not even going to guess, but it felt like forever. They finally got a room. My daughter had a friend that worked on the floor I was going to be on, and she somehow expedited it for me, and that was wonderful. And so I got in the room, and I remember let me go back. While I was in the holding area waiting for a room, I remember being so dizzy. like my head felt numb and it was spinning, and they had to give me this special pillow to like keep my head still. And that was severe. But I will say I didn't have nausea, I didn't throw up. The sedation or everything that I had been through didn't cause any of those reactions, thankfully. So I got to the room, and I'm gonna end this here because we're already like at 10 minutes, but I think I'll be able to finish up in the next video, or maybe 2. But when I got to the room, I remember feeling like something was dangling or hanging in my throat, and they just kept telling me I was just agitated from the sedation. And I'm like, no, there's something going on in here, can you at least look? And so they tried to look, but they acted like there was nothing going on. And let me tell you what, there was something going on. That tube had nicked the thing that hangs down, uvula, whatever it's called back there. They had nicked it, and a piece of skin was like dangling. So that started a whole nother set of worries. At this point, I'm not even thinking, how bad is the cancer? What stage am I? Which is what I was going to find out soon. What are my treatment options? Am I going to live? I'm thinking about this thing hanging down in my throat, and how every time I swallow or talk, I could feel it. And I'm panicking. What if it doesn't heal? You know, what am I going to do? Like, because I have this thing where, you know, I can't really swallow pills very good. And so that was just really freaking me out, but they were just blaming sedation. Anyway, let's end it here. Thank you for listening. I don't know if I've been very helpful. I'm kind of just rambling about what happened to me, but again, I'm no expert. This is not medical advice. I don't know everything, but I am more than happy to answer any questions, or, you know, have a conversation down in the comments with people and just offer you some support or guidance or handhold or sympathy, whatever you need. I am happy to offer that to you. I appreciate you watching. I hope you will subscribe to hear the rest of this story and some other health things that I've been through throughout time if you're interested. All right, have a great day.